Hey team, this week we talk to Melanie Bracewell.
Mel is one of New Zealand's biggest and best comedians. She's currently the host of the Cheap Seats show over in Australia, and she also travels the world doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, in this one we chart her progress from Tumblr through 7 days all the way to the massive success she is across the ditch.
This episode is brought to you by TAB. Got a hunch? Download the TAB app today and get your bet on. Mel Bracewell.
Hello.
Welcome to Between Two Beers.
Oh, it's so good to be here at Between Two Beers without waters. It's nice.
Oh, yeah. We should have beers.
We do. We could.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought it was. I thought it was a chat of you at a bar almost, but that's okay. It's quite early in the morning. I'm having my water.
Sort of 9:30, 10 a.m. records. It's hard.
Yeah,
we should. We should bring the beers back.
Stephen would do that, and then he would open a beer, and then we would have that ASMR kind of element to it, and we've retired that.
I don't say retire. Bring it back.
We've put it on pause.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll bring it back.
Afternoon records.
Anyway,
Enough about us. Welcome home.
Yes.
Oh, it's good to be home. Oh my gosh, it is a weird one coming back to Auckland. I grew up on the North Shore, and so it's great to see more roadworks around. Well, I've been staying in the city, and you go, you know what this needs more of? Cones.
Yeah.
And every time they step it up.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
They keep delivering, eh?
Yeah.
First show last night.
Yes,
yeah?
Last night.
How'd it go?
It was great. It's a funny one because I used to always write my shows in New Zealand, and then I would go to the Melbourne Comedy Festival and I have to go, oh crap, that's a New Zealand reference. That's a New Zealand reference. Get rid of that. Or things that you didn't even realise were a New Zealand reference. And now I've lived in Australia for 5 years. I'm doing the opposite. I'm coming home going, oh, that's Australian. And it's worse because if you make an Australian reference in New Zealand, it feels like the consequences are higher.
Yeah.
They go, oh, you've converted now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We've lost you.
So I
Russell
had
Crowe
to be
stuff.
really like fine-tooth comb. Okay, don't reference the Matildas. Don't reference, like the little things that you have that sort of creep into the show. I had to snip out and fix.
What does post-show look like for you? You come off stage, and then is it like you're down tools, down buzz, or are you high energy?
It's a weird one because when I'm home, I don't have that same, down buzz, I guess, because especially in the New Zealand Comedy Festival, I literally finished my show and Josh Thompson was upstairs and I finished at 9:30, he started at 9:30, so I came to his show late, and so I didn't have time to really even think. My sister came and I didn't speak to her. I literally sprinted to Josh's show. And so when I'm in New Zealand, and especially in comedy festivals, you're just like, you go and watch shows, and so you don't have enough time to really care or think about your own show. But if I'm doing Sydney, which is quite a split up comedy festival, I'm at the Enmore, and then there's some people doing a show over here and here and here. I know I'm miming in a podcast, but then sometimes you do a show in front of like 1,000 people, and then you don't live there, so you don't really know anyone, and then you just go, well, I guess I'll go have a lie down or something. It's a weird one. It's such a strange adjustment to go from in front of so many people and then just with your thoughts. So, yeah, it definitely depends on where I am.
Put a little bit of context around this. So you're working over in Australia, you're back for a whirlwind week, and it's 4 shows.
Yes.
How much difference is there? How much variation is there between the 4 shows? Like, is it just the same thing each night, or is there a few little tweaks?
So with comedy festival shows, people are quite surprised by this, I think, sometimes, to know that when we do a comedy festival show, we've spent like 6 months writing it, and the finesse and the craft of comedy is to make it look like we haven't, that we're just having a chat.
Yeah.
And then you launch into a word-for-word script. But you have to, it's like an actor, you don't want to seem like you're acting. You want that line to feel real. And so a lot of the challenge is doing a show often 30 times and feeling still like you're in the room and you're not, like, because sometimes once you know it so well, you could recite it and be thinking about what you have to do at home.
Yeah.
And that's the danger, is you never want to be like completely out of the room and going on autopilot. So I always try and have moments where I'm chatting to the crowd or things that kind of change every night to just keep me present. Sometimes you can't expect it. I was doing a show in Perth on Friday and I was in that autopilot mode a little bit. A man walked on the stage from backstage.
How is Will Smith?
Yeah. He says, "Get my wife's name out of your mouth." I was confused. I thought there was like a fire or something, like it was someone on the crew. This man just looked like in his mid-20s or something. He looked like casually dressed. I was like, is this guy a stalker or something? This is weird. I said, are you okay, man? He goes, oh, I'm in the wrong spot. I was like, what? So he was trying to go watch another show. He had wandered backstage, managed to walk onto the stage in Perth in front of 1,000 people. And then his reaction was, oh, I've taken a wrong turn somewhere. Let me just go back. And then he just left. And I was like, how can I do the show now? This is so crazy because people, like, we all were losing it. I was crying with laughter trying to get the show back on track because he would have had to have gone through so many hoops to get there. Yeah. He would have had to open like doors that were hard to open. He would have had to walk past like security. He had said to the guy backstage, they were like, are you sure you're in the right spot? He goes, I'm just going to go I'm seeing my mate. And so what I think has happened, his mate was doing a show upstairs and he was going to watch his mate's show, but somehow ended up on the stage on my show. Yeah. So those things you can never prepare for, and that's what I love about live comedy is that you don't know what to expect sometimes.
I thought he must have had a ladder or a hiver's vest on that allows you that access behind.
He just genuinely, and he was just like a dude, and he was just like, he seemed like he'd had a few beers and he just wandered through a weird passage and ended up on stage and seemed unfussed by it, which really tickled me as well.
Nonchalant.
Yeah.
You must go out on stage. Like, you obviously, I'm assuming you killed last night. I'm assuming it went really well.
It was good. It was good. It was a little adjustment, I think. It's a different feeling, I think, coming home, especially if you're a Kiwi, right? People are like, oh yeah, that's just Mel, you know. Mm. And in Australia, because I've got this TV show, there's a little bit more, and they're just a bit more, you know, they've got Murdoch Media, they've got Daily Mail, they've got this sort of sense of celebrity that we don't have in New Zealand. So it's actually really nice to feel like I'm just in a group of like my friends and family. Often I'd mention Beach Haven and then people like 20 people would woo, and I'm like, oh, it's people that have come going, we'll support Mel because she grew up in Beach Haven. And in Australia, they're like, oh my God, it's that girl from the like there's this weird view of celebrity where people are like enamored by it. And in New Zealand, it's a really funny and good, a proper humbling experience, but a good humbling experience of going, you're just a person. Everyone here are like extensions of your family in some ways. You know someone who knows someone, and that's why they're here. And that's really nice.
Awesome. But yeah, that sort of the confidence and security of like, you've got your show, you know it, you don't want to go on autopilot, but you can. Like, you can't really go wrong. And then you've got 3 more of them to do to just enjoy it. Like, is there no nerves or any sort of anxiety around performing?
Oh, definitely. And I had the nerves more last night than I did, you know, doing bigger shows. And it's a strange one. I don't know. I think sometimes as well, New Zealand, we've kind of suffered a little bit more with the post-COVID thing and getting out and about. So the comedy festival has actually been harder to sell for a lot of comedians, me included. Not that it matters too much. I think, like, yeah, it's just harder to try and get people to come out and come to shows. And so I was a bit nervous. I was like, oh gosh, is it going to be full? Is it going to be people there? And is the show going to translate in the same way? Like, I've done it 30 times, but in a very specific, different context. So is it going to work in this context? And so that always stresses me out. I think the first show of every city, I always go, will they like me here? And that never really goes away.
But even if there is less people in the room, sounds like from what you're saying, there's like a natural warmth for being in front of that kind of home or being here at home.
It's such a funny one where Kiwis as well, they feel part of the show, which is really nice, and they'll give you really nice heckles. So it'll be, we love you, and you go, oh, thank you. I mean, you're speaking on behalf of the room. I mean, they didn't. You should say I love you. You can't speak for everyone else in here. And so that's funny. It's like a funny, reassuring thing where I think Kiwis go, oh, it must be scary being up there. Let me just help out. Let me just say something, because I'm sure she's you know, stressing out. So let me just help. It's really nice.
We've got a few rats and mice to get through here, Mel. It's a bit of an eclectic start, but did you know we first messaged you to come on Between Two Beers on the 20th of October 2020? 5 year. We look through our Insta DMs, and it's a dangerous place for
It's
shade.
a very, yeah.
But he's clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no.
There's a little backstory behind
Listeners will know
that,
that.
which I'll, well, yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's taken us
He's
5
clean.
years to get you
That's so funny. That's actually fast for me to respond to a DM 5 years later. So
That was my question.
That's where we were going with this.
Right, you've got this huge social profile, right? Like 220,000 followers on Insta. What's your strategy for like dealing with the flood of DMs and like not getting overwhelmed by all that?
yeah, I think it's a funny one because we're always seeking validation in some ways, right? And you look at those message channels and you think, oh, that I might find it there sometimes. And so I ebb and flow between never checking it and always checking it. And I would say when I'm doing live shows, I'm always checking it because I think I just need someone to say, well done, because I think it went well, but I'm biased. I like my show. So I need to see if people have messaged me and said, well done, but then you overthink it. Then you go, so many people have said, well done. Did they think that it didn't go well? And I need the reassurance. So you sometimes end up spiraling into these ways. I would say I mostly don't get negative messages, but you only need 1 out of 40 messages to then make you sad. So like I could have like 39 amazing messages and then I got one today. Sometimes they're funny. One of them just said, you don't suit not wearing makeup, which is such a funny thing to be like, let me help you and say, please put some foundation on, your skin's bad. But it was like someone trying to be nice, but very savagely roasting me.
Definitely a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Definitely a Kiwi.
You just don't suit it.
You've opened the door on us now,
Yeah.
though, because you have replied. So expect a flood of requests from our side in the future.
Yes.
Around
can't
helping
wait.
with potential guests.
Oh yes, okay, of course, yes. I will be a voice for them. I'll tear them apart. Really, that's what I'll do. I've got tall poppy syndrome. I don't want any of your other guests to be as good as me. So I will be finding really dark stories for you to expose them with.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Okay, so get to know Mel. The way we do things is we sort of canvass friends and family and try to ask them, what's Mel like? Tell us some stories. And we normally just read them out, but we got this exceptional voice note from a friend of the show, Hayley Sproull, who's been on twice.
Oh my god!
And you gave her a call out on your Instagram yesterday about being a dressing room mate or something like that.
So last year we were both at Rangatira and we were in the dressing room doing our makeup together, and there was we just bonded a lot. I love Hayley so much because we don't see each other very often. It's harder, and then when we do hang out, it's like we have been mates for a long, long time. So I loved our little bonding sessions, and now I'm terrified that the audio message is going to be like, "Yeah, I never really cared for Mel."
No, she had the nicest things to say about you.
Oh
So
my
we're just going to play the.
And she doesn't often reply to us. I mean, she's usually very, very busy. We did go the Instagram DM route as well.
Yeah.
We went voice note to try and break through the noise.
Yeah.
And it was great that she replied.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
going to play it for you now.
Okay.
Okay, let me try this again. I just tried and Metallica was like fucking screaming, hey, do you want to get the fuck off my ass? Sorry. Got it right up my ass. Like, what do you want to oh my god, stop trying to anally penetrate my fucking car. It's a maniac, looks like a meth head. Anyway, Melanie Bracewell. Shit. I don't have much. I mean, I know her well, but she's so nice and kind of innocent and oh my god, this guy, like, what is your problem? I think he might. Oh my god! I think he might. He just like tapped. Oh my god! I feel like this guy might get out and fucking abuse me. Hang on a second.
Oh my god!
Is this good? Oh my god! He's literally gonna tap the back of my car. Oh my god! This is crazy. You're catching this in real time. Oh, we're at a fucking traffic. Oh my god! Okay, I'll come back.
Oh my god, that is art. That is beautiful. And also, I didn't realise that Hayley had the same amount of road rage as I do. So that's been another bonding experience.
Well, we haven't heard from Hayley since that was the last communication we've had, so we're not quite sure how that ended up.
That is so funny. She's nice. Fucking hell, get out of my asshole.
Yeah,
Oh,
we did
that is
ask
beautiful.
her permission to play that. That was such a good voice note. We're like, oh my
my-
god, I felt like we're there with her.
Oh my god.
The follow-up voice note it added a little bit. She said, you're really tall.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she said, you're nice and unproblematic.
Oh, wow. That's nice. That is good.
But you went through a period, she said you went through a period where you guys got confused for each other a lot.
All
and
the
it was
time.
like, wrong captions and just people mixing
Oh,
the
yeah,
two up.
even the New Zealand Comedy Festival was like Melanie Bracewell doing her thing. And it was a photo of Hayley Sproull playing the keyboard, a thing that I've never done on stage before. So it is not my thing. But she, it would happen a lot. And it would always happen. Hayley would get confused for me all the time. It would be like, because I had done a little bit more telly, and then Hayley got a lot more popular than me, and so now everyone thinks that I'm Hayley Sproull. So the roles have really, really reversed. But we loved it. We did a video of us on opposite sides of a weird mirror at the waterfront, and it was like we saw the mirrors, and then there would be gaps in between the mirrors. So if you walked past, it would be reflection, other side, reflection, other side. And so we were like, this is great. Let's just walk through this. And then it would switch between me and you and me and you. People were like, wow, the editing on this is incredible and seamless. We're like, no, we just walked and held up our phones on some weird mirrors. And
Is Brinley Stent in that mix as well? Does she kind of fall in the confusion?
I think it's a tough one because she's naturally blonde. This is the thing as well, the Hayley and it was never organised, because when you book a hair appointment, you have to book it like a month in advance. But what would always happen is Hayley would get her hair done, she would go blonde, and I'd go, Hayley, you're going to hate me next week. I have an appointment because I was going to go blonde. And so we kept accidentally impersonating each other as well. Like we would try and be different coloured hair. And then Hayley went pink and I went, that's a very clear signal
Strong play.
of I need to diversify from you. But it was just, I think we were going through the same motions. Pre-COVID, I was like, reinvent myself. I'll go blonde. And Hayley was blonde at the same time. And then post-COVID, both of us were like, well, I can't keep this up. And so we both went brunette at the same time. So people were, very confused.
The next on my list of sort of interesting Mel factoids is you can recite pi to about 50 decimal places.
Yeah.
Part of what we're going to do this morning is sort of unpack the Mel Bracewell brain. But what happens when you're asked to recite pi? What's happening in your head, do you think?
The thing is I feel like it's almost I'm tricking people in a way, because learning a lot of numbers in succession, it's essentially would be the same as learning 10 phone numbers. You know what I mean? Like less than that. Less than that. If you knew 10 phone numbers in the back of your head, you could do the same thing. The only thing is I learnt it at school because we were in our maths class and it was written on the walls. And just for a little bit of context, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. And I remember the clinical psychologist going, do you have any problems with memory? And I'm like, I forget things that I'm supposed to do, hence why I was late to this podcast. But I don't have a bad memory. Like in maths class, I learnt pi because it was written on the walls. And she was like, so you were looking at the walls at maths? I was like, touche. So me and my friend were competing over how many we could learn at school. And often when you memorize something like that, it just never goes away.
Does anyone ever try and call you out on it? Like, no, the 27th number is wrong.
Yeah, so I've done it. I actually do it on stage in this show. It's in context of a long, long, long story that I tell. And I have found people applaud it. And I think, you all don't know if I've done it correctly. You don't know. You've just cheered. Like I could be reading any sequence of numbers, but there's always someone in the crowd that knows and goes, nah, that was correct. And that's nice to have that to back me up.
Nice.
Speaking numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Chronic sneezing.
Wow, who told you this?
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
7, 8 in a row.
Yes, and it was a nightmare at school because everyone goes, a sneeze is 1/8 of an orgasm. And then you sneeze 8 times and then people go, whoa, okay.
All right, Mel.
That's a nightmare. So the thing is, it's like, I wouldn't say I sneeze frequently, but I sneeze a lot when I do sneeze. So yeah, I guess I'm banking them. My dad does the same, but he has intense sneezes. And I found I hold my sneeze in, and I don't know if that means I do more, because I'm like, that kind of half weird
I do those
sneeze.
sometimes, yeah.
And so But I've tried letting it out. I still sneeze 7 times. So I'm like, either I could do 7 little like weird sneezes, or I could do like 7, and it would make no difference.
Because we had Hayley Sproull's sex.life partner in crime, Morgan Penn, in a couple of times, and I brought that up, that I thought 7 sneezes in a row was the equivalent to a woman's orgasm, and she looked at me like I was like crazy.
Yeah, I'd heard that one on the playground too.
Yeah, it's an urban. Is it
It's a Hamilton thing.
Topor, I think. I first heard it way back down.
It's again one of those classic.
We've got no
things
reference
that
point
kids,
just for
that kids make up. I talk about in my show how everyone thinks that if you peel a label off a beer, that means that you're sexually frustrated.
Oh, you
That's
are.
another one where it's not. None of these
you
things
are.
are true, but they're just a way of flirting, right? They're just a way of getting the conversation to sex. So, like, and you learn as a kid, but people still say it as adults, and they see a girl sneezing, and they go, "Hey,
I can help you with that."
1/8 of an orgasm. I could get you some pollen, that sort of thing.
Thank God my DMs are clear. I would have been in big trouble. This one came from Kanoa Lloyd, who was a little bit pressed for time yesterday.
Yes.
I've got a funding proposal that I've got to get in, but maybe ask her about the time she walked my dog with me.
Yes.
No context around what that means, what that might mean.
Oh,
Take it
yes.
away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is probably like, I know, there was a time where me and Kanoa worked together on the project, but because we were in a sort of writing cave, we didn't even cross paths that much at the project. But I was going through a tough time, and Jessie Mulligan had said, you should talk to Kanoa about that sort of stuff, and I messaged her, and we went for a walk, and we talked about going through tough times, and it was like this really beautiful, nice moment where I was like, oh, I'm not alone. I know this is very deep. You probably expected it to be like, and then I picked up the poop. And it
Not
was
at all.
like, no, but it was like a really nice bonding experience about being a little bit in the public eye and just sort of copping a bit of things and just, I don't know, going to doctors and getting antidepressants and that sort of stuff. So I was scared of going on antidepressants. And so I talked to her about it, and she was so informative and amazing about it.
Well, she seems like the perfect person to have that conversation.
100% going to say the same
Yes.
thing, yeah.
And you might not know, like, from the outside, this is like between two beers, right? Like a blokey thing.
Yeah.
But we actually are interested in talking about that side of things.
Yeah.
You know, like from the outside, I think when you came in and we were researching you as a guest, it's like, Mel looks like she's just rock solid, right? Like from the like successful career, everything is just like flying, like stable family upbringing in that. So to hear that you have sort of had brushes with, I don't know, difficult moments or mental health or needed to talk to people is
and I
important.
think that, like, I would say most people listening to this have, and I think that's a really, like, whilst it's a really sad statistic, it's also like this really kind of bonding thing where you just go like, oh, I'm not like, there's nothing wrong with me for being sad and having these moments where I just am quite low for a variety of reasons. And you just, you find ways of coping, and whether that's through medication or it's through, I've been to therapy a lot. That is great. Must recommend. I think it's so good. And I think everyone should do it at some stage of going to therapy. I think, I had the problem, which I think some of my friends have as well, and it's not arrogance, but it's maybe thinking that someone couldn't tell you something about yourself that you don't know already. You know what I mean? You think, well, I know me. I'm going to meet a stranger and I'm going to have to tell you, okay, I'll tell you everything and all the context, but you still won't know me as well as I know myself. So I know what I should do. But having someone who gives you really sort of practical tools to deal with, difficult situations, and gives you these like really common categories of thinking, which is really interesting, I think. It's like you will say something that's really negative about yourself. You'll be like, I don't know, I'm ugly. And she would go, which thinking pattern is that? And it would be, there's all sorts of, I can't remember what they are, but they're really useful of going, oh, this is a thing that our brain does regularly. And if you can kind of notice it and have a thought less so in your face and just give a bit of distance to it, then it's amazing. It's so good.
And to your point, like, what a reference point in your workplace with Kanoa, because again, when we had her on this episode, like, she went into detail around when you're in the public eye, it's a challenging place. And I guess at that time you were running multiple operations where you're in a writing room, you're doing stand-up, you're doing bits and pieces on social media. So there's all sorts of different feedback loops coming to you as well.
Yeah, and the ADHD diagnosis has been a real game changer for me because it's made me recontextualize a lot of decisions I've made in my life. But the big thing was I just kept taking on too much. And so I was working at Radio Hauraki as a breakfast producer at the same time as studying. So I would get up at 6 a.m. and then before that, I had to be at work at 6. And so I would be working and then producing stuff and finding interviews and stuff during the day. And then I would go to bed for half an hour after the radio show and then go to a lecture or go to a tutorial and things like that. And then after that, I got an offer at the project and I was like, oh, well, I can still do radio and then the project. I can work from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. every day. And I really, I honestly thought I could do it because I like being busy, but no one likes being that busy. It's too much. And so when you're running on fumes, you just start making all sorts of weird decisions. Your brain really rewires in a way that's definitely not healthy. Overworking is so hard. I don't know how nurses and doctors do it. It's crazy.
When did you, if you don't mind me asking, when did you have the ADHD diagnosis? How recent are we talking?
Last year.
Yeah, right.
So really recent. And it was, I always thought I had it, but I didn't want to get diagnosed because I didn't want to go on medication. I thought, well, I've been okay up until now. Things have been okay. And then I reached a point where I was, I don't know, letting people down or doing, I felt like I had made a few decisions in a row that had, affected other people. And that's when I was like, oh, it's not actually all 100% about myself. It's about how other people are around me as well. So if I'm interrupting people all the time, or if I'm always missing things or meetings or things like that at work and they think that I don't care, that's when I was like, okay, well, maybe I should try this out because it might make a difference.
And it has?
Yes, it has. I mean, this is, the problem is that this morning I had not taken my medication, and so that's why I was a bit late today. So I know you're saying this oh, wow, this must change your life, but she did turn up late to our podcast. So, yeah, I was doing that a lot, and I just wanted to try and do something that might stop that a little bit.
But I feel like even that awareness is an interesting space to be in, to be able to now go oh, it's because I missed that yes. now I recognise these sorts of things.
And I just thought it's really made me realise a lot, and I've always been a bit disorganised, and I always thought how do people find this stuff so easy? How do I people who are really organised and they could get all of their homework done and they would turn up and they weren't copying it from their friend because they'd forgotten about it, or, they've got distracted with something else. I was just it's easy for other people because their brains are different. And that has been a real sort of realisation for me that, it's been really life-changing. I know everyone says that. I know everyone's like, oh my God, it's life-changing. But it genuinely is, yeah.
You said a year ago, you'd been okay, but you've been hugely successful, right? As a comedian, was there any fear that it would dull the sort of creative spark?
Oh yes, I was like, are these going to be not funny pills? Yeah. I'm scared. I'm worried. My boyfriend has ADHD for context, and this is maybe this is illegal, but the reason I finally got diagnosed because I just tried half of one of his Ritalins, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like this is a party drug. I feel like I should reply to those emails. Yeah. And that's what clicked it into place. And when I had tried his, that was the moment I finally booked an appointment to get an ADHD diagnosis, because it was something that obviously is a task to do, and I had put off for so long. And it's just so that's what kind of clicked into place for me. But yes, I was worried that I would be less funny, and I'm on a quite low dose, so I'm not I don't know what the difference is with the doses, to be honest, how much they affect you, or whether it's body weight or whatever. But I'm on a quite low dose. But
are you less funny?
Oh, who's to say, really? Let's check the reviews. No, I think the thing is, it's a hard balance of like, sometimes I think, oh my God, maybe I am less funny because I'll take times off where I don't have the pill, and I talk about it like it's a contraceptive, and we just raw dog it. So,
You're still funny. You still got it. You still got it.
No, but sometimes I will take a day off it, and I'm like, I am hilarious. I'm so funny, and it's because the problem, I think, is that medication doesn't slow down your thoughts or anything. It just stops you from expressing all of them at once. So your filter is a little bit more, it's less porous, I would say. And so you might blurt something out and it gets a laugh, but you haven't even connected you haven't had enough time in your brain to have even thought about it. So you feel funnier because you're like, I didn't even expect to say that. So you make yourself laugh because you're like, wow, I'm just sort of blurting things out. And then when you're medicated, you still think those things. You just might not say everything you think. So I think it really helps in my writing process. So writing this latest stand-up show, I found it the easiest to put together because I still was feeling funny, but I had time to sort of write it out, think about it, and really have the motivation to really work on it. I would write a show and I would be really happy with it, but there would always be, at the end of the run, at the beginning of the run, I go, that's a placeholder joke. That's just in there because I'll think of something better later. And then when I'm closing the show after doing it 30 times, that placeholder joke, I guess I didn't get around to fixing that. Now I think I am like, well, I'll just go fix that now. And that's helped a lot. I got a director on this latest show as well, which was great because then you can just not feel guilty talking about your show all of the time to a friend, because you often talk about your show with friends, but they're also doing a show. So you feel like, okay, I've talked too much. Let's talk about your show. And you have to have this weird balance. And some people don't respect that balance. So I've had try to do a writing session with this person who I think is really funny. And they will talk to me about their show for a while. That sort of reminds me of my, I actually had an idea about my one. And so having a director was great because even if he's like, I'm tired, but I'll hear you out, I could just talk at him about my show and go, thoughts? And it was really nice to have a sounding board because you don't get that until you're in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
Thanks for sharing that. Like, we had Sonia Gray on, it was a couple of years ago now. Lotto lady Sonia Gray.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about ADHD and streams of messages of people just like resonating with it. Like, holy shit, when she was talking, like that was me. And like it made a breakthrough.
Especially with women. So I'm sure she talked about it as well, is that it presents differently in men. And so you get the H of the ADHD in men a lot of the time, not all the time, but it's the can't sit still on your chair, it's getting up, it's walking around, it's being a bit the class clown kind of thing. I wasn't the class clown. I was the person who would like say a joke that I couldn't keep in, but I would say it to my friend next to me, and they would say it loudly and get a laugh. But like I wasn't really loud, and I wasn't really like bouncing off the walls, but I did have really like huge lapses in concentration a lot of the time. I really I could not deal with French class. I couldn't.
Pourquoi?
Our teacher, Mr. Halliday,
I'm in a French zone at the moment.
Are you getting it?
Daily lessons.
Duolingo?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
138.
Wow, cool. Do you feel fluent?
No, I feel more comfortable. Anyway, sorry, I didn't want to.
No, that's fine. No,
Let me tell you about my show.
No, I want to hear it. I would always. In our French class, me and my friend were so bored, and so those little what are they called? Those fortune tellers.
Pick a lucky number.
Those, yes, but we would put dares in them, and so we would do that, and it would open up, and it would be like stand on your chair for a minute. And so we would, but there would be a map on the wall, so we would have to we'd stand on our chair and just be like, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we know where Paris is, and you would have to be up there for a minute, or it would be like crawl over to the bin, so you'd drop your eraser and you'd be you keep dropping it and you'd keep crawling. So this is a lot of the things I was doing in class, and the only thing I remember from French is comment ça s'écrit, which is how do you spell it. So, because that was the most fun to say. And then I spoke to my dad, who definitely also has ADHD, and he said the same thing about his French class. He was like, oh, all I would remember to say was bon oui, which is good yes. So it was nice to see my life be parallel to my dad's in a strange way.
Yeah. This might link into our next contributor. We heard from Ray O'Leary, and we asked, what's Mel like?
What's the secret sauce?
What's the secret sauce?
That was the leader.
I'm sure he gave you a very serious answer. That's classic Ray.
He said, I would say she's maybe the person I've met who's got the strongest possible work ethic. I stayed with her when our season of Taskmaster was coming out. We had Uber Eats coming in and there was a 20-minute wait for the food. Now, if you're like me and you've got 20 minutes, you'll just plop on the couch and start scrolling on my phone. But she was like, I'll just go and edit a clip so that way I can post it later this week. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this woman, every spare minute she had that was productive or constructive or leading to something. She just worked so hard and was so talented. So it's no shock she's got to where she is. And who knows where she'll be in 5 years' time.
Oh, that's so nice. I mean, the thing is that, my work ethic is very situational, I think. I was so excited about Taskmaster. It was like so fun to do. So part of the excitement of going to like edit a clip, because also I love editing. It's really fun. There's something like it's one of the tasks that I really enjoy doing. And so I would go and I'd be like, I get to watch this thing again. I just have to put some captions on it and then I get to post it on Instagram. People will like it. That's fun. And so, yes, I do remember Ray staying with me. He didn't mention for how long. It was about 3.5 years, basically. But no, I mean, I try to. It's a lot of a sort of don't get off the train too early. You know what I mean? I don't know if that doesn't even make sense as a metaphor. It's just kind of keep on the treadmill maybe and keep going.
Riding the wave. Keep riding the wave.
Yeah, it's just it's a non-stop mentality that I think some people might say, oh, that doesn't seem like ADHD, but it actually kind of is, because you're like, oh, okay, I better do it now, because if I don't do it now, I won't do it for a year. So it's just like finding those moments of motivation and jumping onto them and really, really making the most of those moments of motivation, because they come in random bursts, I would say. Yeah.
Your current life over in Australia, like what does a week look like?
Yeah, so I work on a show called The Cheap Seats. So me and my co-host Tim, we host the show. We write the show as well, because we're both very anal. And I think some people think that, when they watch the show that we sort of turn up and we read auto cue or something like that. But a lot of it is clip finding. So we watch, I would say, all of the news. Like we will watch because there's four main channels really over there. There's 7, 9, 10 and ABC. We watch all of the news of all of them. So all their breakfast shows, all their 6 o'clock shows, we watch them at like 3 times speed. It's not healthy. You're honestly watching the news at 3 times speed is such a weird experience, because casualties, it's something like there'll be something so bleak and you're just like skipping through it in a way, but you're like, I have to just find the funny. I have to skip past all the horrors, and because if I ingest,
this is work as well. Like this is my job.
If I ingest all of the horrors, then I think that's also unhealthy. So it's like you're just trying to, and Tim and I, we make a show that is the week's news, but we find the fun. We find the fun parts of the news so that people can have a rest and have a laugh about what's going on in a sort of relaxing way, hopefully. And
how big is the audience on it?
At home or in the room? Because we have a live studio audience, and then we also have people. I mean, there's ratings and whatnot. Yeah. Do you mean?
But this is a massive, like across all of Australia, like millions.
Yes, it goes over all of Australia. I would say our average week would get maybe like 500,000 viewers, and then people watch it on demand, and then there's clips and all sorts of stuff. So I'm sure it adds up to a way. I mean, the ratings thing always confuses me, because it's like about 10 people who have a box.
Have you ever met anyone in your life that has one of those boxes?
Do you know what was
in
amazing? so Sean's my partner, we were staying in a place called Flowerdale, which is north of Victoria, very sort of like rural little spot. And we just found an Airbnb that allowed dogs. And so we stayed there and it was amazing. There was, Sean drained the spa pool on accident, so we can never go back. But there was a lady there who, first of all, she went to our high school. She was, we not at the same time, but she was like, oh, I went to Birkenhead College when it was called Birkdale College. Like, that's so crazy. And she's like, and I watch the Cheap Seats every week. I was like, cool. And she's like, and I've got one of those boxes. I was like, thank you so much. I can never lose you as a fan because you represent about 100,000 viewers. So please keep watching every week. Even if you don't watch, maybe just leave the box on.
Amazing.
So that was she was the first person I've ever met that's had a box.
Yeah.
And you go, that's so funny and such a relief that you like our show.
Did you get eyes on what that box actually looked like, or
No.
you just took her word for
That's
it?
so funny. Let me look at the box. Let me just play around with it for a bit and just stick it on Channel 10. No, I didn't get a look at what the box is. So who knows? Maybe it's all
It's another one of those urban myths.
She's just a secret agent to sort of seed the reality of it into the world.
I'm going to link back up to Australia later. I actually want to go back to the start, and I want to frame the chat about family with, I've listened to a few interviews you've done, and I imagine it's always the same sort of painful cricketing, the Bracewell family.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to ask that, but I want to ask about asking about it. Like, is that the go-to, you're the Bracewell, you got the famous cricketing lineage, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a weird one. So I've had people who meet me for the first time and they go, cricketers or not? And they want to know. And then I've had people who I've known for like 5 or 6 years and will come up and be like, oh, because of your uncles. And then someone goes, oh, and they go, oh, you're related to them. And it's a funny one because I don't have many photos with that side of my family. A bit of context, my dad, so he was the youngest of all of those siblings. So Brendan Bracewell, John Bracewell, all of those guys, he was the youngest. His mum passed away when he was 6 weeks old. And so he didn't grow up with his siblings. He was adopted by his auntie and grew up with his auntie. So he grew up with, he was the Jeffreys. And so he wasn't a Bracewell, but he was a Bracewell. And then later in life, he met his family and sort of knew them but wasn't as close in the same way. And then as adults, got really close because he was like, this is why maybe I skew more on the nature of the nature versus nurture debate, because he was like, oh, these people that are my siblings, I feel different. He was about 2 feet taller than the rest of his siblings, who he thought were his siblings. And so it was a real moment of meeting his brothers, like his actual brothers, John and Brendan, and they all look identical. And that must have been such a mindfuck to go to be growing up in a family where, it feels like he was, the movie Elf. That's what I feel like it would have felt like. It's to just be like, oh, like I'm different, but I feel like I should be part of this. And then meeting people who are your, biological brothers and sisters and going, oh, this makes more sense to me. So, yeah, that's why if my dad had grown up in that family, though, he would be in the Black Caps too. I probably wouldn't exist. He would have a whole different life, know? And so there's all those sorts of things that sort of feed into each other. And my dad hates when I talk about how, all my uncles are famous cricketers and my dad is in IT. He hates it. He's like, I'm also pretty good at cricket. And if I was forced to play cricket when I was 2.5, then actually I would have been a Black Cap. So I will make that full disclosure that my dad is also good at cricket, I need to say.
Yeah, on the record.
Nicely said.
You're a blended family as well, right?
Yes, so it's an odd one though because my parents are still together, but they both had previous marriages. So I have a lot of half siblings from their previous marriages, but we are so close, and it's like not. I don't go, I'm seeing my half sister today. We're brothers and sisters, and my dad is my half sibling's dad, even though not biologically. And so, we're a blended family, but well blended, I would say. You pulse it a few times, and that's us.
One of the most common threads we've had about you is that you're ultra competitive, and I wondered if being the youngest of 6 played into that.
Oh, yeah, I would say that when there's, 9 Tim Tams in a packet, there's a lot to fight for. I think, yes, definitely. And it's a weird one, though, because there's a big gap as well. So my elder sister is 17 years older than me. So the most, I think, amount of competitiveness I had was with my sister, who's 4 years older than me, and she's my full sister. And we fought a lot. We were really I would say, I would say she tormented me. She would say it's just a bit of sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
She would throw lollies at me. She would buy lollies, throw them at me, and then say, don't eat them. And if I ate them, she would like tackle me. And she would go, she would be at the shop because she would like, because she was 4 years older than me, she would be like, she got a job, you know, and I was still, you know, a kid. And we'd be at the supermarket. She'd be like, do you want a chocolate bar? I'd be like, yeah. She'd go, then buy one. It was a lot of mental torture. She would, and then she would say that I tortured her in a way because she would push the trolley and I would rest my hand on the side as if like I was guiding it, like because we would always fight about who's pushing the trolley at the supermarket. Did you ever do that?
Yeah,
it was such a thing to like.
Yeah.
I want to push the trolley. Yeah. I need to push the trolley. Yeah. But then if it was Sheree's turn to push the trolley, I would sort of rest my hand as if I was guiding it and I was still pushing it. I was still helping, you know, and that would fuck her off to no end. So I'm sure I was annoying, and because that is an awkward age gap. So my sister's going with her friends to the movies. I'm like, oh, why don't I get to go to the movies? That's not fair. So I should be able to come with you, with your friends, to the movies. Yeah. And she's like, my younger sister, Mum says that I have to take my fucking younger sister to the movies, and I'm hanging out with my friends, and she's ruining everything. So it's, yeah, I'm sure I was annoying, but she was evil. So there's a balance.
And then the sort of the comedic writing was Tumblr, right? Like at its peak, it got up to 200,000 followers. Like, how did that blow up? Was it like a series of just consistent posts, or was there one big moment that things took off?
I discovered Tumblr when I was sort of in the beginning of high school, maybe. I was like year 10 or something like that. And I really loved sort of scrolling through it. And I thought Tumblr was post photos of flowers, and you know that's what it feels like. It was,
wasn't it?
Yes, that's what I thought it was. And my friends were all on Tumblr, and they were posting like really kind of angsty black and white photos with like windowsills and flowers, and I was like, like this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to like be this kind of person. And then every so often you'd see something funny, and I was like, oh, interesting. And I'd click through and I'd follow that blog. And then over some time it was like I had unfollowed all of the flower blogs and I was only following blogs that were funny, because I was like, this is so much more interesting than seeing someone with a very swoopy fringe and a post-it note going, I love you, or whatever the fuck they were doing. So I got really sort of in this community, and it became like there were all these, I would say, cliques of Tumblr. It felt like a high school in some ways, and we were known as the text bloggers because we weren't posting photos and things, we were writing jokes. And so I followed all of these people, and we became like friends like all around the world, all of these like text bloggers. And you would have the Australian bloggers, and I was like one of the only like New Zealand text bloggers, so I sort of like I was merged in amongst this sort of Antipodean group. And it was always like, I remember eyes snapping open in the middle of the night going, I've thought of a text post, and I would like write it in my phone, and then like the next morning I'd post it, and I'd be at school and be like, I can't check to see if it's gone big, but then I'd go home and I'd be like, oh my God, it's got 100,000 notes, it's so cool. Wow. And so I got really obsessed with it, and I think that's where my like love of writing came from, and it was amazing to get, I don't know, you like, especially as a woman in comedy in a way, you do kind of need a little bit of validation because it feels like things are working against you. Like I watched a lot of comedy growing up, but it was like Monty Python, you know, there was not many like women I was seeing being funny. And so actually seeing all of these like funny women from around the world, a lot of them were girls writing jokes that still go around now. Like I see screenshots of these posts and I'm like, oh, that's my friend, that's Mon, that's, you know.
Yeah. What about your stuff? Do you look back on your posts and are you like proud of kind of like 14-year-old brain, what she could come up with?
There's some ones that definitely go around. So I have a photo with Giancarlo Esposito, who was Gus from Breaking Bad, holding a banana to my head. And I took that photo when I was like, do you know that photo?
Yeah.
Did you know it was me?
No.
Yeah. So I was like maybe 16 or something in that photo, but because I'm also awkwardly tall, it's like a really odd photo. And because it was at Armageddon in Auckland, it's like that weird kind of school photo day background. It's like there's so much going on. But essentially my friends, they had brought box cutters but with the blades taken out of them, and because that was a thing in Breaking Bad, they were like, oh, we're going to get this photo with Gus and he's going to like hold the box cutter. And I was like, oh, I don't have a cool idea. I was just going to smile. And then there was just like a banana discarded on the ground. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll do something with that. I brought the banana. I was like, can you pretend this is a gun? And he was like, it is a gun. I was like, oh my God, you're such a good actor. And he held it to my head and took the photo. And I'm very excited. He's actually going to Oz Comic Con, and it is my plan to potentially recreate it. I think like over 10 years later. So that's my. I hope I can make it happen. I hope he doesn't. He's very busy. I'm sure he might cancel at the last minute, but who knows? Yeah. So I see them circle around sometimes, or like a joke that I was like, oh, why have I not tried that on stage? It was something I wrote when I was 15. And yeah, it's surreal.
But this Tumblr actor is like the gateway, right? That's how you got discovered and how you got on. Is it 7 days was the next step?
Well, yeah, it's a funny one. I almost felt like so there was a competition called the 7 Days Comedy Apprentice. They had Georgie Pie sponsoring 7 days, and they were trying to find. I know, R.I.P. Again, I guess, like because they brought it back and then it's gone. So they were trying to find like a new person to put on 7 days. And I had never done like stand-up comedy before, but I was kind of urged by my followers. They were like, you should enter this competition, you know, because I was like finding myself keenly more interested in stand-up comedy. I was going to the classic, I was watching shows, I was going to the basement. I became a flyerer for the comedy festival, handing out flyers, sometimes handing a flyer to the person I was flyering for. That was always good. They'll go, that's me. I go, oh, yep, I was just testing you. And so I would... I was like, okay, I'll enter this competition. It was just record a video of yourself being funny for a minute. I just sort of did verbatim one of my text posts, just read it out to a camera. And then I had filmed something for uni, but we had to interview people. And so my interview was interviewing people as they'd exited the bathroom, and I would say 1 or 2. And that was it. And that was it.
It still plays.
It was exactly, I know, exactly. It was just like, and then someone would go, huh? And that was the whole video. So I did a joke, and then I said 1 or 2. That was the whole video. And I somehow made the finals. And they had 6 videos that they had chosen. And then we got to do like a writing session with the writers of like 7 days that help write like Corbett's jokes and things like that. And they sat us down and was like, this is how you like craft a joke and all that kind of thing. And then they filmed us doing like a mini version of 7 days at the Classic, and then they released like a montage of our best jokes, and then the public voted. Now, this is where I feel like I cheated because I had more of a public to access. But my other thing was David Corrales was also a contestant. He also had a huge YouTube following. So I felt like, okay, well, we're both now on the same page. Now I feel like there's 2 of us that have that advantage.
With the head start.
So now I'm like, well, if I don't use my advantage, then that's, you know.
You're fair.
So I basically rigged the competition so that I'd win. No, just kidding. And so then I won the competition, and I thought that they would just put me on the show for a whole episode. That was the most arrogant thing of all time. They're like, we'll put you on for Caption That as a 4th contestant on one team. I was like, that is very smart. And then off the back of that, they, I did some writing for them, and I had never done stand-up comedy before. So after I had won the competition, part of the prize was to do a corporate gig for McDonald's. And so I was like, well, I better do comedy before I do that corporate gig. And so I did 6 minutes at the Raw Comedy open mic at the Classic. It went so well. I was like, oh my God, okay, well, I have to do 7 minutes. I'll just have to add a minute and it'll be perfect. And I died on my ass in front of all of the corporate people of McDonald's. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought McDonald's corporate, people who work at McDonald's, young people, fun. And then you go, no, McDonald's corporate, it's all of the bigwigs. It's all of the McDonald's corporation. It is the big heads of the business. They did not care for me at all. I was so thrown because they would like answer rhetorical questions. It's like, isn't it funny how... Yeah, I guess so. And you know, like and so because I'd not done much stage stuff before, I was like, oh, and I was thrown completely off track, and I'm just trying to remember what I'm trying to say. And so I remember calling Guy Williams crying, being like, I don't think comedy's for me. I failed a corporate. He's like, why the fuck were you doing a corporate for your 2nd gig? I was like, I don't know. And then, but I got paid $700 for the corporate, and I thought, well, I guess it's worth it to completely humiliate myself for money. I'm a poor uni student, and they also gave us a free meal, so I had to I could have left, but
Was it McDonald's?
I did stick around. It was a steak, and I had not eaten, like, I was on meagre rings, you know, and so I was like eating this steak, going, if I had gone home, I wouldn't have to be more humiliated, because people would come over and go, it wasn't that bad, it was okay, if you just keep working on it, that bit was okay, that bit was all right. And I was like, no, just let me eat my steak in peace, I need to leave.
So you've won the competition, you've got a foot in the door, you're studying, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
But are you making any money out of comedy at that stage outside of that $700?
Yeah, no, so that was like, I was like, oh my God, well, maybe comedy is very lucrative because this is my first paycheck. Well, I assume this is what it's like all the time. And then you don't get paid most of the time. Doing an open mic, you don't get paid. People are paying $5 to be there. That's probably enough to keep the building lights on, you know what I mean? And so Scott does it a lot for just finding the next generation of comedians. And then you move up to Big Wednesdays, where the fee you get for that is one beer. So it takes a long time to be able to monetize it. So I, straight out of uni, Alex Bean, he was a Radio Hodaki host. He had seen me on the 7 Days Comedy Apprentice. I had maybe followed him because I listened to Radio Hodaki all the time. It was like the only thing I'd listened to. And so I followed all of the hosts. And then he messaged me saying, I saw you on that thing. Would you like to come in and, like, I'm looking for like an intern? And I was like, oh my God, yes. And it was not paid or anything, but he was like, I just want someone to, like, work the prize things. I was so interested in radio. I was like, this is a great opportunity. And so I volunteered at Radio Hodaki for about 8 months. And then as I was studying at the same time, and so when a job came up, I was kind of there.
Get that head start again.
That's the thing, is that, but I put the work in, and I think on paper it's like, okay, well then she went to study, she did this competition, and then she studied, and then she got a job at Radio Hodaki, and I think people might miss the context of, like, working for 8 months for free in order to try and get that job, because a lot of people I was studying with were like, you know, they'd be asked to do auto cue at News Hub or something. They want to be journalists, they want to be anchors, they want to be news reporters, and they would turn that down. They'd go, oh, I don't want to do auto cue. I want to be Hillary Barry. And you're like, well, Hillary Barry would have done auto cue before she was Hillary Barry. You know what I mean? And so, I just kind of said yes to every opportunity for a bit.
Was it always kind of comedy that you wanted to head towards, or like you get the foot in the door at Hodaki? Like, were you kind of still quite open as to what you might want to do?
Yeah, I still don't know what I want to do. I think I was like, I'm not going to make a full, clear decision. I'm going to do this communications degree that feels like it opens me up to a few different pathways. I did a journalism paper. I did a few other things. I didn't know if I wanted to make films. I didn't know if I wanted to do stage stuff. And so I just was like, I'll do it all at once until one kind of bubbles to the surface and brings me the most satisfaction, I guess. And so I still sort of am doing that. I'm doing TV, and I'm doing live touring, and trying to write scripts and things like that. And I love all of the different things I do for different reasons. And so I kind of just want to keep juggling them until it becomes unsustainable, really. Yeah.
In terms of influences coming up, I wondered if it's all right with you to talk about Cal Wilson, because I'd sort of I've seen a few quotes about the influence she had on you and sort of like leading you through. Would you say she was sort of a really important part of the puzzle? Yeah.
So she was one of the women who, when I was coming up, I mean, Ursula even came like a little bit later. Like Cal was there but before her, and she was one of the people who was regularly appearing on 7 Days, and she's got such a look, right? The pink hair and everything, she's hard to miss. And so I just remember her being such a part of I don't know, my discovery of women in New Zealand comedy. I think that's what it was, is that I kind of saw that there was women in comedy sort of floating around, but she was probably the more regular thing that I saw frequently. And then when she moved to Australia as well, she kind of was the first Kiwi to kind of break that pathway. And that pathway is a huge one that Ursula and I have both followed. And she is just so smart and so nice. I remember I was down in Christchurch for the Buskers Festival, and I had a really nice dinner with her, and I'd never She was, oh yeah, that's another important thing. She was also in the cast when I did the 7 Days Comedy Apprentice. And I remember meeting her and being like, I'm nervous to meet you, I'm sorry. And I remember texting. I even looked back at my my messages when she passed, because I was like, I swear I was bragging about her to my friends all the time. And I searched Cal Wilson, and it was like, oh my God, I just met Cal Wilson. Like, there were so many stars and so many people there that I was meeting, but like Cal was the person. I was like, I met Cal and she was so nice. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, Cal just followed me on Twitter. Oh my God. And I was trying to be cool around her. And then it wasn't until a few years later, I was in Christchurch and we had this dinner, and she talked a little bit about her like comedy journey. And then she was also like, oh, if you see anything pop up for work, like, please let me know. I was like, what? Like, oh my God, like, you're Cal Wilson. Like, you should 100% have all of the work all the time. And so I was so glad to see that she was appreciated again. And when she got that Bake Off gig in Australia, I was like, yeah, that's the thing about being a woman in comedy, I think, is that there's these waves. So there's waves where people go, oh, we need to have more women. And sometimes I felt like I caught that wave and I was able to get some opportunities off the back of it. But then sometimes it goes dry and there's one woman per show, and then it becomes a little bit like competitive and hard. And so Cal was doing so great in Australia, and then she moved back to New Zealand for a bit, and to like then go back and be like, hey, remember me? It is really hard. And so when she got the Bake Off gig, I was like, yes, she's the perfect person for that show, because it's like one of the most positive, quote unquote, reality shows of all time, where the bakers are helping each other. And I was like, if there is a show that sums up Cal Wilson, it is Bake Off, because it's about being kind to people. It is about it just doesn't have that toxicity. She had no toxicity in her bones at all. She was just amazing. I loved when she was in lockdown and hotel isolation. I don't know if you ever saw this, but she got her meals delivered, and she would use the paper from the meals and like all the packaging to make outfits. And so she would like, and they were incredible. So she would make herself the Statue of Liberty, and she would like use all of the like, all of the like takeaway cups that they had delivered to her house and make like a crown. And like, I was like, she's just so creative in every situation. In a moment where, oh my gosh, you're stuck in a hotel by yourself, this could be really like low and depressing. She was like, I'm going to make this fun. And that's, yeah, she's amazing, and I miss her a lot, and the comedy community misses her, and the world misses her. Yeah.
She was a foundational comedy figure for me growing up. Those like comedy fests, and it was she was one of the first female comedians I remember. Yeah, terribly missed. Other influences, Brett and Jermaine, obviously, Flight of the Conchords, but then you sort of develop again this connection with Jermaine, and then you start working with him on Wellington Paranormal.
Yes, and the faking it I had to do to pretend I wasn't the biggest fan in the entire world, and that I owned every piece of merch, and that I knew every single lyric to every single song. And at intermediate, I would sing Hippopotamus versus Ryan Rothfuss to my friends, and oh gosh.
Is he in your Armageddon photo book as well?
I have another Armageddon photo with him. So I loved What We Do in the Shadows, and then saw that they were there. So I had paid for a photo with him, which I was more excited about than John Carlo, to be fair. But I had 2 photo tokens. So those what I redeemed was What We Do in the Shadows and the guy from Breaking Bad. And so, yeah, to meet him so what he had done was he liked my tweets, so he followed me on Twitter. So I sort of transitioned my like Tumblr stuff to Twitter, and just would like post some of my like old things on there just to see if it would go well. And he followed me and would retweet some things every so often. And then I did a gig in Wellington, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, nice to meet you. My name's Paul Yates. I am producing a TV show at the moment. And I was like, oh, wow, cool, amazing. Thinking it's just some sort of small little project. And then he's like, so you know What We Do in the Shadows? I was like, oh, I've heard of it. I'm aware of it. He goes, we're doing a spin-off show. And I had also heard that they were doing a spin-off show because I was following the news about it. We're doing this thing called Wellington. It wasn't called Wellington Paranormal at the time. I think it was called Paranormal Unit or something. We're just looking for people to pitch some ideas. I was like, yeah, I reckon I could probably, I reckon I could do that.
Consider it.
And I had never written a script before. I was 19, 20, or something like that. So I was very, very fresh in the comedy scene and just kind of got this opportunity to pitch. And they had asked, I would say, maybe 20 plus people to pitch, because we all got it in a room together, and Paul explained what the show was and what sort of ideas they were looking for. And I was looking around, I was like, oh my God, there's Tom Sainsbury, there's this person, all these people that are like much more successful than I am. So I felt a lot of imposter syndrome, but I thought, you know what, all I can do is just come up with the best ideas I can. And so I just wrote out a Google Doc of as many ideas as I could think of paranormal things that these cops could encounter. And I sent it off, and I was chosen. And again, that was like another pinch me moment of like, no, it can't be me. That's so crazy. And then we went in like a writing room. We went down to Martinborough, and we stayed in like this incredible Airbnb for a week. It was Sam Smith, Coco Solid, me and Nick Ward, and another writer who lives in Wellington. And then Jermaine would pop in every so often. And that was the most amazing experience of my life, to wake up in this like incredible Airbnb with like these wineries around, and then we would sit down and we'd go, okay, clowns. And, you know, it was like, you'd have a whole day of discussing some stupid thing and go, well, what if Minogue did this, or what if Karen did this? And I was like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. And then to go away and like write an episode, to pretend like I knew how to use Final Draft was another kind of imposter syndrome moment of like, in the meantime, I was just like watching YouTube tutorials of how to use the software and the screenwriting stuff and how to do it right, looking at lots of example scripts and kind of working it out, and then submitting a script and then to see it on the screen is just like, yeah, the most surreal moment of all time.
Do you have to try and cap your thinking in those sessions, or do you just open your mind and go, fuck, I'm just going to throw absolutely everything at this? Or are you filtering and fine-tuning as you go?
It's a little bit of everything. I think with a small writer's room, it's really good to just keep the conversation going, because as soon as you all sit there and go, you kind of block your thoughts. And a lot of the time you are undercutting yourself, but in a way that I don't know, just keeps the ball in the air. So a lot of the time you go, okay, this is the bad pitch version of this, but something along these lines. But it's getting a conversation started, and it's a bad joke, or maybe even the bad pitch is not so bad after all. And with a bit of fine tuning, you go, no, actually that could work. And so you often have to just try and stop yourself getting caught up in the minutiae of it, because sometimes you might have a long argument about one piece of dialogue, and that's just such a waste of time. And since I've been doing writing work, I worked on Time Bandits, the spin-off TV show of that movie.
With Taika on that one, right?
So he was involved in it, and it was 13 weeks. 13 weeks of writing, 13 weeks of a lot of, we would have historians on to like talk us through history, and so we had a lot of knowledge to go away and write our scripts. Wellington Paranormal was 5 days. So the difference in that of like how efficient you have to be, we have to go, okay, well, we have 5 days and we have 6 episodes. So we have to do, and we want to have more than that to go to script, because we want to be able to have some that we maybe save for next season, or some that we go, that's not quite right, we need to we need to park that. So we kind of in theory need to write 8 episodes and use 6. So yeah, so 5 days. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, that's insane that we did that. But it just, I mean, Jermaine's a genius, so
just on,
he was able to take it.
Just on Jermaine, when he walks into that situation, when he does the mood and the atmosphere change completely?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I try and play it cool, but I do get a bit nervous. I feel less nervous now since working on Time, because he was part of the Time Bandits writing room. So that was, again, like 13 weeks of exposure therapy. And to go, no, that's right, he's just a guy, he's just a dude. But he bikes around Wellington, he lives in Wellington. And so he'll come with his like bike helmet on and just be like, all right, what have you guys done? And we would like rattle off all of the ideas we had. And he'd be like, whoa, you guys should take a break. He's like, that's a lot. You guys have done so much. Like we've done 3 outlines in one day. And he's like, that's unheard of in the sort of American sphere where he's been working in with HBO and things like that. So we were always like, here's what we have done today. And he would come with some great ideas. And I remember it was Tom Sainsbury and Jermaine, I think, working together on this. Where he was, Tom Sainsbury was writing in one of the seasons. I think it was season 4, maybe. And we were talking about the idea of having the cop station be on a Pākehā burial ground, and we were just like, oh, this is great to like parody this kind of trope that you see in horror all of the time, and just to be haunted by this white ghost. I was like, oh, this is perfect. And those moments are like the most fun when you're riffing on something like that, where you find like the perfect riff. It was great.
Are you starting to sort of feel like you're breaking the shackles of the imposter syndrome as you're starting to get more acknowledgement and you're starting to feel comfortable in these rooms and you're appearing on 7 days more, you know? Is this sort of starting to happen?
Yes, I think so. I think definitely as a writer, because I think that's sort of where it became, I don't know, harder to feel like I belonged there, because I did get my break really early. So, there were just sort of a series, like some sort of Rube Goldberg machine that sort of like meant that I was in that room, you know? So Jermaine happened to see a tweet at a certain time and it came up on his feed, and then he liked it, and then he followed, you know what I mean? So it felt like a few things fell into place in a really convenient way that you have to go, this has been a mistake. You guys have made an error here. And because when they were like, can you send some examples of scripts you've written? I was like, I've written an article for the spin-off. You know? And you go, yeah, I've written a sketch that never went anywhere. And so I just had to send oh, these are jokes I've written, these are other stuff I've written. I want to do this so bad that I will do anything. And now as a writer, I think what's helped is knowing that a lot of people want to do screenwriting, but they haven't done the first step, which is download Final Draft Pro, learn how to write a script, read some scripts. And so I think people sort of have this like fantasy idea of what it might be, but are unwilling to do like the really practical things. And so now, at the very least, because I have practical skills in that area that are like, everything's subjective, but having the practical skills isn't. Like, I can physically do it. So that helps me feel less of an imposter, because I can come into a writing room of people who have like never written a TV show before, and I'll go, all right, leave it with me, and I will go and I'll format it. And you go, that is just a skill that is very easy to learn, and if you learn that, then you will put yourself leagues above anyone else trying to write a script, because it's not in a Word document that has images that if you move it, the entire Word document shifts into another realm. So it's just little things like that help you at least seem more professional, even if you might not be quite there mentally, maybe. Yeah.
In that writing process, do you keep all of the ideas for yourself? Or how much of you, like, is it your material that other people are using currently?
Yeah, so with stand-up comedy, it is more collaborative than what people may think. So what I love doing is sometimes when you're doing a work-in-progress show, so I'm doing like, I'm going to pay $5, pay what you can afford, I'm going to rattle some shit at you and we'll just figure it out together. And you do it in front of a crowd, and you do your first sort of version of an hour that is really rough around the edges. What I love doing is finding a friend who's in a similar state, has just done their rough around the edges hour, and we both send each other an audio recording of our hours. And it's so much easier to work and come up with jokes for someone else's premise than it is for your own. And so it becomes this beautiful kind of exchange, this trade deal. And so it's like, I offer this and you offer this, and I will like write a bunch of punchlines or maybe some things that I'm like, I wish you had more in that. Here's how we could extrapolate that. And I get really nerdy about it, and I'm like, oh, that's good, that's great. And you have this fresh mind that's coming to an idea with no context. And you also have the same view as the audience, because sometimes when you're writing a joke, you think they must understand this, but they don't. But if you hear it for the first time, you're like, I didn't quite get that. What did you mean by that? And you're, oh, crap. Okay, I needed to say this, or I needed this piece of information. So, a lot of the time, I am watching shows and going, oh, I wrote that joke. And it's a sense of pride of like, it's the same thing. You still get that same endorphin rush if you see someone else say a joke that you've written. And especially if it pops, you're like, yes. And you know that there's like this sense of gratefulness between comics, is that we go like, I know there's lines in my show that were written by like Eli Mathewson or someone like that. And I go, every time I say it, I go, Thank you, Eli. And I think I have a lot of appreciation. So I hope that at least, it's reciprocated as well.
Because I spoke to your partner Sean last night, who
Did you?
I did. Don't worry about that.
Oh my gosh, funny. Because I was nervous. He's a bit stressed at work. I was like,
Oh no.
Chore.
Oh, sorry, Sean.
No, it's all right.
But he sort of said from the sidelines he'll watch the trial show and he'll watch the refinement over the time, and he was sort of talking about how you're. I wouldn't say fixated, but even just the little 1% tweak of a joke is really, really important through the whole process of putting something together. It's interesting that you speak about it with other people, but I wonder if you realise you do it yourself through, I guess, just
I can
being.
get really, really nerdy about it because sometimes you don't realise that this tiny tweak that you change in the way you set up a joke can completely flub it. So what you're trying to do, right, is give them enough information that they understand the joke, but not too much that they predict it. So there's sometimes it's like, I don't know, it's like baking. It's like if you add an extra half a teaspoon of baking soda, you could totally fuck your muffins. So I think like sometimes it is the case of a word and not cluing them in too much. And that's what I've found hard, I guess, sometimes translating it to New Zealand is that I go, okay, I've got this joke about Vic Roads and they're the transport agency of Victoria, but I can't change it to transport agency because transport, like, it sounds too close to another word that's in the punchline, and it's so you wouldn't think about it. But when I have said transport agency, it doesn't go as well.
Yeah.
And I go, it's just because it's like hearing even the same similar words or something that slightly rhymes. You know, when you hear something that rhymes, and you're like, was that intended? And you're distracted, you're thinking about something else, and then you just need people to be kind of as focused on the punchline as you can. And so I get really kind of nitty gritty on it, and I think it helps. And it's kind of fun. It's like a little puzzle, I think. Yeah.
I want you to take us behind the scenes of 7 Days because there's a couple of viral moments. I'm kind of wondering how it plays out. So I think the most popular one is the classic Kiwi Taste, and you answer...
Yes, my pussy.
Okay. The question was... that's all pre-planned, right? Like, do you send them in and say this is the joke that's going to happen, or is it more that comes up on the spot?
Or is that what you were talking about before, where you blurt something out and you haven't even connected the dots about what that means?
Sometimes as well, and sometimes in 7 days because it is pre-recorded. And that's why I think people think it's so rigorously planned out, is because you just forget about editing. But a lot of the time, the best moments in the show are just... we're in the room, and we're not the thing with 7 days is it's about the news, right? So you go, oh, of course we're going to be talking about saying the C-bomb in Parliament this week, probably, right? So you just, in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, I'm gonna come up with a bunch of jokes about that. And so, but with those buzz-in things, you just kind of have to be impulsive. And I remember doing that joke thinking, this won't make the edit, but this will be fun for the room, because the audience were a little bit quiet. That sometimes you just do things, you're like, I have to throw a bomb in this crowd in order to wake them up and so it was just this thought of, let's do something that's definitely never going to make the edit, but it will be fun for the room. And then it made the edit, and I got a text from my parents.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I was wondering about that.
Yeah, it's a funny one. And I've got very conservative members of my sort of extended family who, I mean, I'm not really even in touch with anyway, who I think were very disappointed in me and all that kind of stuff. But I just think... what is the harm, Yeah. It's it's all just fun. It's just, we're being crass, but it's just funny. And it was a no filter moment that I think a lot of people can relate to. Someone will be sitting in a meeting, and someone says an innuendo, and all you want to do is shout out something that but you have to keep composed because, this is HR, and so then I've got the benefit of being in a workplace where that's encouraged. Yeah. And so, just leaning into that, I think.
What was your other one?
I was going to say, was a classic Kiwi Taste before or after the diet of dick?
Pussy came before dick, yes. It was because then that became a thing that I would do. So, it's not even a thing that I would do. Again, it was just you're trying to keep the vibes up. So I sort of entered a conversation with Ray that I was like, this conversation's going nowhere. It was about how we ate the same meal every day, and I thought maybe he would have I was just leading up to a joke, but it was one of those ones I was like, this is going nowhere. This is a friend chat. So I was like, you have the same meal every day? He goes, yeah, bean korma. I have mixed vegetables now. And I was like, fuck. fuck, where are we going with this? I really need to lob something up. And I was like, that's the first thing I can think of. I have the same meal every day, dick. And it was just again, like at every moment you don't want a conversation to go nowhere. And so then it became like, oh my God, you've done a Bracewell again. And I felt in my mind, I'm like, I'm laying myself down to keep this audience alive. But, and again, didn't think it would make the edit. Yeah. Again, another text from my parents. So, and those are things that would never make the edit in Australia.
Yeah.
Like I've done inappropriate jokes, and they're not even as bad, but they always get snipped out. They always like go, too blue, we have to cut it out. They're more conservative over there.
But you got the F-bomb in accidentally.
The F-bomb accidentally. That was lucky. That was on the cheap seats. And that was, was this in front of Albo you're talking about? So we had the Prime Minister of Australia on our show, and it was very intense. We were all very nervous because we had a whole like security personnel, you know. They had to come and like bomb sweep the studio and things like that. And you know, we didn't know where the line was of how to talk to him. And again, sometimes breaking that barrier is amazing. And it was just a happenstance because I had a mic pack on my skirt, and then I sort of swiveled my chair, and then the mic pack fell down, and then I felt like my mic sort of slipped down into like my bra, and I knew we had to cut. So I knew like this was not, again, I thought this isn't going to make it onto the show, so I can kind of like, again, drop the facade for a second. And it was almost an opportunity to be like, okay, we need to stop. We can't get anything good right now because there's a technical thing going on. So I just was like, fuck. And then it kind of clicked, like, it's not just saying fuck to just get us to stop and reset and sort all this technical stuff out. I've said it in front of the Prime Minister. It's not just like some reality TV influencer we're chatting to. And then I was like, I've just said fuck. And then I was like, oh, wait, this will be in the show now because it's now become funny and interesting. So snap back into it. We're not off air now. And it turned into this like, Albo was actually great at the banter, you know. He said we was talking about signing my citizenship papers and just getting him on the show to sign them. And he signed it at the beginning, and then that happened. And Tim was like, if you just want to put a cross through that, and gave it to him, and he crossed it out. But then he was like, if we kicked anyone out of Australia who used that word, we would have a very small country. And I was like, that was smart. That was like a good way of doing, of doing like a safe political joke to keep him like, I'm on board with this. This is fine. It was nice.
I want to move us to Australia, but I just want to stop through Matt and Jerry, who are we're big fans of theirs, and we've had Matt Heath on the show twice. So we asked him what the most interesting part of your years together were. And he said, ask her about when she first started as our producer, and there was a story in the news about people smuggling pets on planes, and we had this new Aussie program director, and he for some reason got excited by it and got Mel flying around the country smuggling my pet rabbit Hunger, R.I.P., with her in her bag. I think she did 3 flights smuggling Hunger, punishingly long days with poor Mel flying around for a gag that Mel, Jerry and I didn't really understand.
Can I make it clear? He said Hunger, R.I.P. I did not kill his rabbit. I think Hunger lived on for another sort of 5 or 6 years, very healthy. So yes, this was a classic thing. So Hodaki, we really prided ourselves on being almost anti-radio. You know what I mean? Like a lot of our bits were so different. We were trying to embrace the fact that we were different. We were never going to be the top rating radio station in New Zealand because it's alternative music, it's alternative comedy, and that's what we want to embrace. We can't try and mold ourselves into being, hey, you got the secret sound? You want to listen? You know, we can't do that because that's just not who we are. So our bits were very meta and they were really fun. We had, so we would often tune into The Rock on Hodaki. So I would have to have it tuned up. I would have The Rock ready to go, and they'll go, this conversation's going nowhere. What is The Rock talking about? And then they'll be like, how hot do you have your shower? Like, we should talk about that. And so we would play our competitors' radio station. We had a thing called the Rog 2000, which was just Roger's laugh. That if a joke died, we would play Roger's laugh to make it seem like it was really funny. And so a lot of us was just like, we're just the kids in the back of the class having fun. Let's not like draw attention to ourselves. We'll let the audience come to us, and then they're in on the jokes. What I love about Hodaki is the listeners are really funny because they know the tone of the show. And so I was on the show yesterday, and they were like calling up doing that Dead or Alive game where they list celebrities and you say if they're dead or alive. And then the 2 competitors at the end will go, mate, that was a really good competition, thanks, dude. And then they, yeah, no, you're not, you put it all out there. And they've got this like post-match chat. I was like, your listeners are so funny. Yeah. Anyway, we had this Aussie producer in, and he was in there apparently to shake things up. Hodaki, we need a change. We need to do something crazy and different. We need to be this big like commercial radio station. He gets in there and Chris, our producer, was upset because this guy kept massaging him as well. He would come in and go, hey, Chris, how you doing? And give him a neck massage. That kind of guy. Yeah. He is a nice dude. I probably shouldn't disparage him too much. But it was just, again, the wrong fit for Hodaki. We don't need a commercial vibe to that station because it's the benefit of it is that it's so anti-commercial and it's fun. So he had seen in the news that someone had tried to take a goldfish on a Jetstar flight, and they said, no, you can't take the goldfish. And so they were like, well, I wonder if we can just get away with doing it. And I guess that was the angle. I was like, we're going to send Mel to Tauranga with a fish. And that was the first day. And you think that's where the joke could probably end. Yeah. The next day, they're like, she's going to go with a mouse this time. And so I would go with a mouse, and I would have to take, like, I have to do work, right? I was just wondering. I'm a producer, but I'm getting in a cab and taking like a 30-minute cab to the airport. I've got to be there, like, more than an hour early. One point I got there, I missed the flight. So I just drove to the airport for no reason with a fish and then drove back. And so then, because they were like, no, this is a running thing. We have to keep this going. I was like, this is not working. And then it was like, okay, well, we got the fish and we got the mouse. Now it's time to take 2 rabbits because we can't take one rabbit because they're bonded. So the rabbits need to be together. You can't take one of the rabbits. So I had to take 2 enormous rabbits in a bag. It felt cruel. And I didn't want to do it. And I was like, he's like, nah, the rabbits are chill. We'll put the rabbit in the bag. And then I got there and I missed the flight. And there I was like, I'm so glad. I feel like I need to take these rabbits home. They need to be in their home. And so that was just one of those moments where we just kind of like, because he's our boss, we couldn't say no. But, when someone's so excited about an idea, then you could take a fish and you go, yeah. And then it's just happening.
Okay.
And it's just another classic example of just radio think. Like sometimes it can work for certain radio stations, stunts. Radio Hodaki is not a stunt station. They are low-key, and that kind of is counterintuitive to the vibe of, the vibe of Hodaki is Matt, his alarm didn't go off, so the first 30 minutes of the show is him on the way to the studio. So, that was what we really leaned into. And
and you were the woman's affair.
I was the women's affairs conciliator, so they would get me on to represent all women. Anytime there was any sort of news article that was about women, we're like, so on behalf of all women, what are women thinking about this? And I would have to then go, well, all of us women have discussed this, and we have determined that this is okay, or this is bad. And it was really fun. And then we had Mania was the cultural affairs conciliator. That's right. And so he would have anything race-based, even if it was a completely different race to the race that he is. And it was all a bit of tongue-in-cheek, stupid, silly fun, which I loved about Matt and Jerry.
When Matt left, Stephen and I kicked around who might potentially come in and replace, and your name popped up.
Interesting.
Was it ever on your radar, or did you ever think, or have you ever thought about a return to radio?
It is hard. It's hard because when you choose radio, you are choosing a long-term commitment. They want radio peers to be on air for 10 years, and so I don't know if I'm at the point of my career where it's almost like that's like the settling down job, like I wouldn't be able to tour because it's very strict hours. You've got to work around ratings periods, right? You can't just take a week off to go to a comedy festival. So now, while I'm still like in the mode of wanting to write shows and tour, radio's not on my radar, but that's not to say it isn't like down the line at the moment. And with Cheap Seats as well, I would have to quit Cheap Seats if I came back to New Zealand, and it's such a fun job. It's honestly, me and Tim get to just sit in a room and go like, we get to put this on the telly. This is so stupid. We will find this clip and it will make me like cry with laughter. I remember sometimes we find clips that just make me laugh forever, even when I think about it. We had, there was this protest about, I can't remember what it was. It was a certain group of people that weren't getting paid enough, and they were doing a big speech, and this lady got up on the podium and she said, they can take their deal and they can shove it up our ass. And it makes me laugh. It's like, our ass? Yeah, I think they're supposed to shove it up their own ass. But if you want them to shove it up your ass, I guess that's a different story. And I always think about it all the time. And I say it often days and I go, you can shove that up my ass. It's just so fun.
Did they create that show for you?
Yes, so Working Dog, you might be familiar with some of Working Dog. Have you ever seen the movie The Castle or The Dish? Yeah.
Who hasn't seen The Castle?
Yeah, put straight to the pool room.
Yeah, it's a Christmas
these
movie.
These classic phrases that until I watched The Castle a few years ago, did not realise it had come from them. It was just tell him he's dreaming,
Yeah.
and Straight to the Pool Room was them. I thought that was just like a common,
I dug a hole.
These are like common idioms, but I'm like, no, they just invented that and put that in their movie, and they've done so many amazing things. They did this Moldova, I think it's called. It's a fake travel guide that they had written, like a Lonely Planet travel guide for a country that doesn't exist. And so you read it and it's like the funniest thing you've ever read. And so these guys have got so much they've done. They've done these TV shows. They've done Frontline, which was that news parody.
Oh, that was a good show. Was that?
Yeah, that was them as well. They did Thank God You're Here. They invented that format. And so they've done so much. And I was working on their show, Have You Been Paying Attention, which we did here for a little bit. And it was just, they're just geniuses. And they were looking for a show that was more of a recap of the week and less of a quiz show, because they found so much when they were writing Have You Been Paying Attention. But they were like, a clip on Have You Been Paying Attention has to be like sort of 5 seconds long. It's so fast paced. We want something that's got a bit more breathing room, and we would love something that's got some younger hosts. And so Tim and I were the first people that they had asked to do like a trial, like a chemistry test. And it weirdly was kind of a perfect fit of this show, and the whole kind of facade of it being like, this is a serious news show. Okay, all right, well, let's see what's happening in the news. And then we cut to a clip. Betsy the cow has been stolen from, it's like a fiberglass cow has been stolen from a vacuum cleaner shop. And that's what we love about it, is it's like this front of, no, come on, time to get serious. And then we would play something very silly. And those guys are just, they know again, they're really nerdy with it and they know what works. And sometimes they come into our meetings and they go, have you thought about changing the order of this? And you're like, oh, that makes it so much funnier. And Tim is so clever. He's also like a really great editor. So like, but I've got this idea for this, and he'll go make like a proper like movie trailer in like 2 minutes. He'll be able to put something together or make a graphic that pops up with like all these things and things like that. And so he's amazing to work with as well. It's such a dream team.
It must have gone better, like it's gone incredibly well, right? So you get the gig and you get shoulder tapped and you go over there, you're not sure it's going to be a success, and then is it kind of into that first season, you're like, wow, this is going to go really well, and they extend it, and then you feel like you've got some real sort of solidity?
What I really loved about their method of bringing a new show together was they go, let people find you. Don't put Mel and Tim, new show on every corner of every street, tune in and try and get 1 million people to watch first week, and then the next week only 200,000 people are going to watch, because you've put people off from the first version of the show. Tim and I had never hosted a TV show before, so we did a little bit of a soft launch. We did a couple of radio interviews. We're working on this show, and our first show, I think it went really well, but there was a lot of things that we were still working out, how to work in auto cue, look at the right camera, find these little editing tricks to try and like make it like really tight. And so whilst it was good and we got a bit of buzz, it just let the show naturally grow to where it is now, and there was no pressure on us, and the show has evolved. And I look back at old clips and I'm like, shit, the show is so much better now. And I'm glad we didn't burn an audience on the first version of the show before it had kind of come into its own. And so now it's like, you know when something's cooler when it's like a bit of a secret? Oh, have you heard about that show? Yeah. But if it's on every second ad, you go, yeah, I've heard about that show. It won't fucking interview. Like, I was trying to watch the Formula One and then an ad came on, you know? Yeah. And so they have a great attitude. And because they're so successful, sometimes the networks can get in your way. They can go, well, no, Channel 10 want to do this. Working Dog is so successful that the power dynamic changes, and Channel 10 go, we'll just let you do what you want. You just do your thing. Like, we're not going to try and get in your way. Just do what you want, because you've been successful time and time again. And so that's what's been really good. The trust that the network has with Working Dog extends to us, so we can kind of break that trust. Yeah. We can really soil their reputation for good.
It's so cool, like hearing the journey and seeing where you are, right?
Yeah.
You're still so young. But I wanted to talk about, just before we do let you go, Thank God You're Here.
Yeah,
because,
what a format.
Because that one, like, it's so good. It seems like comedy in its purest art, right?
Yes.
So for those that don't know, can you explain what it is and how it works?
Thank God You're Here did play in New Zealand for a bit. I remember the Australian version because I remember seeing like Hamish Blake do it on TV. You know, like those moments like burned into my mind. So essentially, you have 4 comedians, and they get dressed into a crazy costume. They have no idea what they are. They just kind of have to base themselves on what they're dressed as. They open a door to a room that is completely set dressed in a way like the audience can see it before they walk in, and then they open the door and they're in a castle or something. And then the cast are all improvisers, but they've kind of got a little bit of a script, and they go, thank God you're here. And you are dropped into this scenario, and you just have to take on this character and be this person. And so, like the first one I did, you always walk through this blue door, but sometimes they'll do a special entrance. The first one I did, I was just in this sort of floral dress. I had no idea what I was. They told me to take my shoes off and carry them. So okay, I've got a little idea. And they went, you've got a special entrance. And I had to climb through a window into like it was like a castle. And I was someone who had married into the royal family, but was like a drunk. And I had like really ruined their reputation. I'd gone out and had done all this stuff. And so they had to be like, now you have this catchphrase, of course. And what is that? And you would have to be like come up with a catchphrase on the spot. And a lot of TV, sometimes it's like a little bit of, like they give you a little bit to prepare. This is, I'm not joking, the most secretive production I've ever worked on. So even the makeup artist, there's no mirror. They don't want to see what they're doing to your face. Right. So they don't want you to see, like, if they're like, and then they start going, and last minute, they'll try and throw you off. So I remember there was one with
that's amazing,
with Hamish Blake, where he was like, they dressed him in a tennis outfit. He looks down, he's like, he's got a tennis right. He's like, I've got all these jokes about tennis. Great, easy. I'll just think of jokes about tennis. It'll be perfect. Then right before he opens the door, they splash him with blood, and he's entering heaven. And so so it's like he thinks, I'm going to the Australian Open. This will be perfect. I'll think of some ideas. You cannot prepare at all, and they will try and make it so you can't prepare. So when I was like dressed as a fairy princess, and I'm like, oh, I must be in some fairyland. No, I'm a kid's birthday entertainer talking to the HR of the birthday entertainers because I had like tattooed the children. And so you're like, oh, okay, now I have to just like abandon any thoughts I could have had about what the scenario is going to be and just go headfirst into whatever they've put me in.
And is it just one take? Like that's what they get? You can't do it
so what
twice,
they do is they probably, in the live audience, they will film for about 15 minutes, and they'll cut that down to sort of 8 minutes. They sort of cut out a few things, and that's why we probably look funnier than we are.
Right,
so if there's something that just kind of goes nowhere, then they'll just
I couldn't think of anything. Sorry, nothing was coming to me.
But there was one. So every time you go in, there's someone there, right? They have something to say, and they set you up for a script. One, I was dressed in like they matted my hair. I was in this like in these ratty clothes, and I walked into like a jungle, and there was no one there. There was no one else there. And so I had to be like, well, thank God I'm here. And it was great. And it was like they've never done that before. They've never had someone walk in and there's no one there. And then someone came in and went, congratulations, you've won the Solo Australia that lived in the jungle for the longest amount of time. And so you've won the $100,000 prize money. And then it was like, how did you do it? How did you survive? And you had to kind of riff on what you did to survive at that time. And
are you totally comfortable in that place? Like that
I would say not comfortable at all, but
yeah.
That's where I think the comedy comes from,
That's
is
so
that it being
good.
such a sense of discomfort. And it's the most stressed I've ever been for anything, especially because people love the show so much. It's so popular. So you never want to be the person who's like, and also there's a competition element. There's a winner as well. So of course I'm very competitive. But at the end, you don't, also I was scared, if, like one of them I won, I'm like, is everyone going to be like, no, she didn't deserve to win. I like this person better. And so you just, there's a lot to think about. The audience is massive. There's about, I'd say like 400 people in the audience. It's huge. And it's like, it's great. They're like feral. They're amazing. They're so excited to be there. And the crew are incredible. The way they can turn around. Sometimes they will have they'll have a horse. They'll have an actual horse. And then they have to lead the horse onto the stage, and there'll be a chariot, and there'll be, a firework explosion. There's so much that goes into it where they like, oh my gosh, the people that design it, the improvisers who make it really fun. And Guy Montgomery, is like so good at it that he did it like twice and then sold out his entire comedy festival run because he was just so good. Yeah.
Every other gig must feel like a walk in the park in comparison. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, the makeup artist that does all of the stuff for Thank God You're Here, she also does Cheap Seats, so I know her very well. And I was just like, Mon, can you just give me a hint? She's like, no listening. And then like someone would walk past talking about a costume. She's like, blah, 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 blah. Like, she's like, do not, nope. It's very a high secretive operation. And that's why it works so well, is that we're so scared.
Could that show ever play here in New Zealand? Like, could we do a New Zealand version, or we just don't have the budgets?
I think
and
so.
We don't...
It's probably an expensive show to make, and it's just so hard to make telly in New Zealand at the moment because it's smaller, right? So like if we had the show just playing in Melbourne, it wouldn't make sense because there's only, I guess, the population of New Zealand in Melbourne, you know what I mean? And Victoria has got the same population as Melbourne. And just because it's a bigger market, they have the opportunity to do big, extravagant things. It's so much harder to copy and paste it into New Zealand because we are copy and pasting it into something that is a fraction of the size. So I would hope so. I think it would be so fun and so great. But yeah, I think they play the Australian version in New Zealand as well. But I'm like, we're also just sneaking more and more Kiwis over to Australia. That it might even be a similar vibe. One night I did, it was like me and Guy, and another time it was like me, Guy, and Ursula. Like there was a lot of New Zealanders on that show. So we're just sort of invading their version rather than making our own.
Just to bring you back to current day. So you're recording, you're writing for Cheap Seats, you're recording with Cheap Seats, you're doing writing for other projects. And did you do 30 shows in 30 nights, like live shows?
Yeah, so that was Edinburgh, was basically that, is that you get one day off in the entire festival, but you do a show every night other than that. And that's hectic. And the Melbourne Comedy Festival, you get Mondays off, but often you're doing like a lineup or something on that Monday. So yeah, it's a different sort of strategy to what we have in New Zealand, which is, you have a 3-week comedy festival and you do maybe 4 or 5 nights. But I think that's really hard for comedians as well. Now that I've kind of had the opportunity to do the show so many times, I know now that it is in the perfect form. What I found sometimes when just doing New Zealand, you're finally hitting your stride. You're like, this show is really good. Oh, it's over. And so I think that those sort of long runs, while they're so punishing and they can be so long and you can be so exhausted and you want to have a breakdown, your show is great. So there's a Faustian bargain to be made.
Do you have moments of gratitude? Like 30...
No, I hate this shit. No, I did it all myself. I don't give a fuck about anyone.
But you know what I mean? Like, you're on this huge show in Australia, you're doing 30 shows in Edinburgh, like you're playing to live, like 400 people are coming to watch you. It's like, man,
yes,
it's pretty impressive, eh?
Yeah, I do have to. So I have a scrapbook that helps.
Oh, nice.
I have a little scrapbook that I like put in like things that were really important to me at the time that I saved them away. They're like little ticket stubs or shows I've watched that I really loved, or like a wristband from a concert that was incredible, and I just sort of stick those in. Or like maybe it's a little article that someone's written something nice about me that's nice. Or reviews or things, and I stick them in there. And sometimes it's really nice to kind of look back and go like, oh, there was a time where like getting in the North Shore Times was the biggest thing that had ever happened to me. And so like just taking that moment to really appreciate it. And you never want to become numb to it, because then you just become a shell of a human. If you can't be like excited and happy with a life that is beyond what a lot of people can hope for, then like it's just not a healthy way to live. And so I always try and reflect and look back at my life and be really grateful for it, and sort of practice gratitude and things. But I am guilty of sometimes, you get frustrated. Like I got an Uber here, and then the Uber guy didn't turn up, and he started the trip, and then he charged me $10, and he didn't ever pick me up. And I'm like, oh, I'm so mad. And I'm like, oh God, there are worse things to happen in the world than having to order another Uber. It's fine, it's all right, fucking $10, whatever. And so it's funny how things can snap you out of it, I think, because you can kind of be like, oh, like you could be frustrated with something, and then that's when you have those moments of self-reflection of like, doing my show on autopilot, and then a random man walking on the stage going, oh my God, that would be like the crazy, like that, I put myself into his body, you go, to be on stage, and the reason it's so funny is to be on stage in front of this many people is crazy, and I'm doing it. So like, just remember, like, it's crazy. That's why it's funny.
Yeah, true.
It's like so crazy to have that happen, and for it to happen to like a random dude who's just trying to watch a show. That is an insane experience. So like, why is it not insane for me? Like, I should try and remember that this is crazy. Yeah. It's weird.
What's the keepsake in the scrapbook from your appearance on QI?
Oh, I got a cue card. So one of the question cards I got from Sandy, and she writes little notes as well. So she'll be like, "Oh, rephrase a question," or she'll like put little notes in, or little factoids that she's thought of. And I just went over to her. I was like, "Would I be able to have that one of your question cards?" She's like, "Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely." And so I've got that stuck in my book.
Because is that a big deal for you? I mean, it seems like a big deal from the outside looking in.
Oh yes. I mean, it's so surreal. I mean, QI was a show that I still love, but also just watched so much of growing up. Like I would watch it on when it was on TV, but I also just would like download episodes and watch them because I just loved it. There are jokes from QI that me and my dad quote to each other all the time. Like there was just one, I don't even know the context to it, but Alan Davies at one point when pink polenta, I love it, I love pink polenta. And so now like me and my dad will say pink polenta all the time for some reason. We don't know what the context is. We just remember it being a very funny thing to say. And so I loved it. It was very surreal. So I've done it twice now. So I did one last year, and then I've done another one which is yet to go out. And it is just like, again, I would say there's like 800 people in the audience. It's huge. It's like crazy. It's like doing it in a stadium. That's wild. And you're nervous because I'm like, no one here knows who I am. And so I just have to try and like just focus on being really like funny and just really just being present and just like remembering the fact that you're here and this is very surreal. Sandy is amazing. She hugs everyone as you walk on. She'll give everyone a hug, and that's just so sweet. And she was just so nice afterwards, like chatting to me about the show and about being a woman in comedy. And that's what I loved about that show in QI, because not many other comedy shows are hosted by women, especially not like super popular big comedy shows. When Cheap Seat started, I was the only woman in Australia hosting a comedy show. So like that's crazy. And so once you realize, as soon as you put women in like a core cast, they can really shine. And Sandy was getting more laughs than anyone on that panel. And you give her the opportunity to be the regular person, and she will represent women well. What I think is the issue is that sometimes you have, say, this is a random example because I obviously love this show, Would I Lie to You? The core cast is 3 men. And so the women who come on get one go every 2 years or something like that. And they're expected to be on the same level as the guys who do it have done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So I think the fear is that when people watch a show and they see a woman and they go, oh, they weren't very funny, they haven't had the chance to be in that environment for as long. They are never going to be as funny as Lee Mack, David Mitchell, and Rob Brydon, because those guys are the show. But as soon as you make women the show, as soon as you make Sandy Toksvig QI, she is the show, and she is the highlight, and she is way funnier than anyone else on the panel because she does it every single time. So that's what felt really good being at QI and seeing a woman host a huge comedy show in the UK, and to know that everyone in that audience was like, they were excited to see us, but they were very excited to see her. Yeah. And I loved that.
That's such a huge room to do live comedy for. Last one from me. Are you the sort of person that looks forward and you've got future goals and there's things you want to achieve? And
yes, definitely. But this is my issue is like, I've talked about this before, but like I want to write a pilot, but I think I've spent more time talking about wanting to write a pilot than I have spent writing a pilot. But that is a goal of mine, is to... I do really love working on other people's ideas. I think it's so like fun, and also, again, easier to do because I don't have the... not attachment, I'm still attached to it, but not the same kind of like, this is my baby. I can give some notes on the baby. Maybe try a different onesie. Like it's just, you can kind of have that little step back that lets you be a little more objective over the idea, and it makes ideas flow a little easier. As soon as I've got the page and I know what I want to do for a sitcom, but as soon as I feel a little protective over it, and that's a bit scary, and it's a little hard to sit down and write because I don't have the same feedback as I do with stand-up comedy, where I can just go try it out. I can't just go, hey, can I give you guys a page and a half of a screenplay? Like, it's not going to work. So I really love writing, and that's kind of a goal of mine, is to make my own sitcom is kind of the plan. So yeah.
If that was your sitcom, would you also go in front of the camera? Is that something that might be in your future? Like
Maybe.
Ursula jumping across from Amy Schumer's a pretty...
Oh my God, that's so huge. It's amazing. I'm surprised that that's not just like front page news all the time. Like, that she's like a huge success. I mean, she's someone who's been so successful, and I'm like surprised that we don't like talk about it more here. But yeah, potentially. It's something like I would write a character that is me, that I would feel comfortable playing as me, but I would still audition other people, and if they were better than me, I would choose them over me. Because I do like acting, but I'm a little bit fearful of, if I want to write a show, I want it to be the best possible version of a show. And if I'm not the best possible option, I don't want to choose me just so that I can be like, hey, there's a lot of things, I'm really tall. That feels like a practical confusion with filming something. I'm just like, how can I possibly? I won't be in frame with all the other people, so that's tough.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your life story with us. It's a weird thing to say from the outside, but I'm proud of you.
Oh.
I've
Yeah.
been following you from the sidelines for ages,
I'm proud of you guys. It's such a cool format to, get to know some Kiwis that people don't not like. You see us in sort of short snippets, so it's nice to do something like this. It's amazing.
Get into a bit of depth. But congrats on everything, and good luck with the show tonight and the
Thank
next
you.
two.
Cheers.
Smash it out of the park, and this has been awesome. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I feel that same gratitude towards being in your presence and hearing a little bit more about...
Oh, in my presence. Oh my gosh.
like your story, though, because you do... Like, we digest the end product, but don't understand the work that's gone in behind the scenes, and taking the opportunities, and really working towards achieving those and continuing to dream even further as well. So
yeah, I always want to undercut it and go like, I do work really hard, but then I go, oh shit, like I meet people and they go, I can't believe you do what you do. That's amazing. You must work so hard. And I go, what do you do? And they go, I'm a paramedic. And you go, oh my God, you do so much more, and you're so much more stressed than me. I cannot imagine doing what you do. And so I think it's just anyone who does something that we don't see as our strength, or we're fearful of, we view as like, oh my God, they put them on a pedestal. But we look at ourselves and we go, oh, it's not much. Oh, it's nothing. And so, I think it's just... it's interesting to like put it in perspective of like, but I honestly would really struggle in an office. I would find it really hard and tough. And so there's a lot going on.
I think we're all glad you're not in an office and you're doing what you do.
It's cool.
Cheers, Mel.
Thanks, guys.